What does it take to build a 20 million peso business? In this video, I'm going to show you what we've done over the years to help us to create the active income needed that would help us launch into a financial independence journey that is now set to have us be ready to retire by the time we reach the age of 55 years old. However, one thing that people don't talk about when you talk about creating passive income is there's this missing element that has to be in place before you even start on that journey. And that's why I created this video to show you what it really takes for you to create passive income that will give you the financial independence that you need, and how we've been on track to hit that milestone at an earlier rate than we thought was possible. So, without further ado, let's dive into something different. We're not going through slides, but we're going through a board today. So, let's dive in. So here we go. Let's talk about how we built a business that funded our financial freedom, and more importantly, the mental model that you can copy to start your own financial independence journey as well. So before of those of you who are landing on this channel for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Patrick Mabilog. My friends call me Kiko. I'm an entrepreneur, an investor, and the Lord of the Rings fan. We got into debt multiple times, but eventually built an 8-figure business from scratch. But I want to talk about something today that's quite different, and also I guess I probably say is quite crucial if you want to build financial independence here in the Philippines. So one thing that a lot of people talk about a lot is passive income. And we probably might think that, well, okay, if I know passive income, then I know active income. And so, these two concepts are, number one, really highly misunderstood because we don't really talk about it that much, but also because we don't see as well the interconnection between active and passive income. One thing that I learned early on through the help of mentors, and that really helped us to get a really good jump start. Every one of us, no matter where you start, well, at least if you are starting from scratch, especially like what we did, you start with something called active income, right? Bear with me. I'm trying to practice as much as I can. There you go. Active income. So, active income could be a job, employment, business, something that you work on actively and that generates income. So over time, you create these assets or this career or an expertise that will help you generate active income. And one thing that happens is if you have this active income, then you now have the capacity to start building more passive income. So one thing that I probably haven't spoken a lot about in my previous videos, if you've been watching my YouTube videos for quite some time now, I talk a lot about how we're building passive income, but I really haven't dug down deep into how we've built active income over time and the frameworks and mental models that we've used for us to create that active income. Because if you really think about it, active income is the great unlock for more passive income. The more active income you have, the more that you can create a portfolio that will give you passive income. So if you have a business, for example, that generates a lot of really good active income now and you handle it properly, which is probably a video for another day. I'll break down how we used our active income to create passive income. But the more active income you have, the more that you can channel into passive income. And so those of you who are probably asking, okay, so what is your sort of active income? Our main source has been our business, which is a marketing agency that my wife and I started about 5 to 6 years ago. We've been freelancing for quite a while. So we started as employees. My wife worked in the corporate space in customer service. I was working as a communications director for a church. So I learned how to do social media, build websites, SEO, and so on and so forth. So when I exited my ministry job, I dived into the career path that I had kind of like taken on in that role, which was using digital media to spread important ideas, right? So for before, it was the idea of the Christian message of the gospel. And so now I was kind of like, I'd spent so many years learning how to do that. I was also a marketing student for a while before I dropped out of college. And so I decided that, I should probably just start a business in the space that I knew, which is marketing, right? And communications. And it so happened that my wife also, she's an advertising graduate. And so we decided, why don't we just start this business together? So we freelanced for a while and we started getting some clients locally and even abroad as well. And over the years, that helped us to create the income that we needed to pay our bills, make sure that first and foremost, that active income can give my family the life that will be comfortable enough. But also at the same time, we decided that very early on, from the onset, that we're going to set aside a good portion of the money that we're earning through this business and allow us to invest in certain assets that would give us passive income, right? So I'm not going to talk about passive income a lot today. So I'm just kind of showing you the connection essentially of like why I'm talking about this when I've been talking about investing and retirement planning for quite some time. Because the truth of the matter is you cannot start investing into assets that build passive income until you first uh, break the code of how to create more active income. So the biggest driver for us has been business, right? So again, I have nothing against employment or working abroad. Those are also great ways. I'm just talking about the path that we took and the path that we know best, because I don't want to share something that I just Googled. I want to share something to you that I know for a fact, because this is the path that we took. So let's talk about something more specific then, because like when you talk about business as well, it's such a wide variety of businesses. You can start a coffee shop, you can start drop shipping, you can do network marketing. I'm not a big believer of it, honestly. We tried a lot of those things and we failed at them really, really terribly. But one thing that we did find was something called a lifestyle business. So what is a lifestyle business? The first time that we heard of the concept of a lifestyle business was through one of our first early clients, and that was the client that I got when I was still, working online but as an employee. So I got employed by this business owner in Australia, who started multiple business ventures. They were software companies, service businesses, and in our first meeting, I asked him. I remember it so clearly. It was a Monday, of course, right? The very first day on the job, we had an onboarding meeting, and I asked him the question. All right, so when can I talk to you? Do we want to set a daily meeting? Do you want to get on Zoom every, first part of the morning? And he told me, no, no, no. Let's just talk on Monday because I only work on Mondays. And I heard that and I understood it as saying, okay, no problem. I can talk to you on a Zoom meeting on Mondays, but should I talk to you via chat on other days, Tuesday to Friday? And he said, as much as possible, don't, because I try my very best to only work on Mondays. And from Tuesday to Friday, I do my very best to not work at all. And that really baffled me because, like, are you kidding me? It's like you only work one day out of the 5 work days, or 7 if you're a business owner. Because for the longest time, my concept of a business owner was you have to be on 24/7 because you're the boss, you're the owner of the business. And so it has to be, you always have to be on call, right? And then he explained to me, I'm trying to start a lifestyle business. And a lifestyle business, let me kind of explain that. It's a business that adjusts to your lifestyle, not the other way around. And so when I heard that, I said, this is exactly what I want. I want a business that, number one, does not require me to work nonstop, because I've been there. When I started freelancing as a virtual assistant, I was getting multiple clients, but I was working 16 hours a week, 20 hours, 16 to 20 hours a day, rather. And I thought to myself, what if it could look like this, that I would only work 20 to 35 hours a week? Now I knew that it was possible. This concept really became as like way, way more popular. There were two books, The 4 Hour Work Week, which I don't want to talk about because I'm not a big fan personally, but this one was the other one. The Slow Company Manifesto, which was written by David Hanson, who was the founder of 37 Signals and Basecamp, which were two very successful, online businesses. And the idea was essentially that you would create a business that would give you time freedom, but would also allow you to create income that's not tied to your time. So you can work 20, 35 hours a week, basically a part time job, and then your income would still continue to grow. But at the same time, that business, even if you had time and financial freedom, it would still create immense value for clients without you burning out. So everyone wins. And I thought to myself, this is exactly the kind of business that we want to start. So I just want to explain that concept because it's very important to the entire ecosystem of what I'm trying to explain here. And so the model for us is very simple. So if we started a marketing agency, at that time I was working as a marketing employee online. I was employed working 8 to 5. I thought to myself, what if we got just 10 clients and then we would charge them 50,000 pesos per month each? If we do that, then we can create an income stream of about 500,000 pesos a month, which would be really life changing money if you're in the Philippines. There was a point in my life where I was actually offered a job in Silicon Valley in the United States. Someone who I was working with said, "Hey, I know someone who is looking for a marketing professional, but you have to transfer to the States, right?" And I thought to myself, sounds good, but that means that I would have to leave behind my beautiful wife, my daughter. We only had one daughter, Alexa, who's now our eldest. We now have two daughters. And I was just so torn, right? Because part of me was saying, hey, I could actually make more money and prepare more for like my later years, and I wouldn't have to let my children become a sandwich generation. And cut the long story short, we made it work, right? And so we actually started to hit the numbers. And so really quickly now, I just want to show this to you, so that you to illustrate what we've been able to do over the years. We've built a business that has allowed us to generate 500 plus per month, right, in active income, a business. And of course, you have the expenses of both the business and the our personal expenses. But it allowed us to save a lot of money. So the important thing that I want to really point out here is one thing that we learned very early on was to try to keep our expenses as low as possible. You might look at that and say, "Wow, okay, sana all that's low." But again, that includes our business expenses. So probably half of that is business expenses, and the other half is our expense. So what I'm saying essentially is that even if our income increased, we try to keep our expenses the same. And so this is a very important point to make. So it's like if you want to create active income that provides passive income for you, then you need to find a way to keep your expenses low and to increase your income. We decided as much as possible we're going to avoid lifestyle inflation, something called lifestyle inflation, right? And so by avoiding inflation, we kept our expenses as low as possible. So we were saving anywhere between about 30 to 50% of our revenue. And a lot of that really was going into investments. So these are some of the investments that we were doing monthly, but we were also adding as much as we could when we did save more. So like for example, if we did like a 60,500 investment, which was our fixed investment, to like dollar cost average in like stock market, index funds, and so on and so forth, buying property. But on top of that, also we were taking like big chunks of our savings, the money that we would save from our business income, and then we would invest it into other funds as well. Is try to increase your passive income, lower your expenses, and then put as much as you can into investments. This is starting to look a lot like cat scratch. Sorry for that. But here we go. All right, this is the most important principle that I want to teach, right? When we were starting off our business, this was the most important concept that I learned, right? About the same time that we were planning the marketing agency, I read the book Ikigai, which is a book that kind of dives and goes down deeper into the concept of Ikigai. And one of the most important mental models, if you want to call it a concept, that I learned personally from the Japanese was Ikigai. It's the intersection of four important things. Number one is what you love. Secondly is what others need. So what are the people like kind of clamoring for? Who do you want to help, and what are the problems that they're facing? What are you good at? What's your expertise, and how can you increase that expertise over time? And what can you be paid for, right? And so like specifically like what I really want to dive down deep into, right? And you can look into Ikigai a whole lot more. I'm sure there are a lot of resources out there about this concept. So how do you find your Ikigai then? This is where I want to share with you this worksheet. I use this worksheet with a lot of my coaching clients, and I'm also going to make this available in the comment sections for you to download if you want to get this later on, right? But again, going back to the idea of your ikigai, right? What you love, what others need, what you're good at, what you can be paid for. So in this worksheet, what I do is I get people to fill out their answers to those four domains, right? As many as you can, but ideally more than five. And then I provided like this AI prompt that would give you some possible ideas for your ikigai. So a good example of that really, this is one that I filled out myself. What I love, things like writing, teaching, coaching, business growth strategies, consulting, sales, marketing, traveling to Hong Kong. So you want to be as extensive as possible. It might not seem like there's an overlap now, but that's fine because the overlap should come later on. And so if you do that and you fill out, the sheet, and then you can download that sheet and then use this AI form, right? It can generate a result for you. So like looking at this example, I used the AI that I shared, and like I put in that example, and so it kind of gave me some ideas for ikigai sweet spots, right? And it's kind of spot on because financial education content creator coach, that's what I'm doing right now with this YouTube channel, and I love doing it. I love doing it. So thank you so much, by the way, for everyone who's been watching these videos. It's been an amazing honor to share my story with you, and hopefully it's been inspiring. Business growth strategies for entrepreneurs. Again, we started a marketing agency. That's what I've been doing, right? Transformational speaker, author on wealth and meaning. That's down in the road. But like again, like these are just my examples. Very spot on. Content strategist, copywriter. Again, something I'm doing right now. Music as a side mission sounds good. I might do that in the future. But this is what an ikigai sweet spot could actually look like. And you have like those ideas, those opportunities, right? And the next thing that you want to do actually is you want to rate them. Because truth of the matter is some of your ikigais, they might look good on paper, but they might not really resonate with you right now, or they might not work as well. So you want to ask the right questions, and you want to like put it through the funnel once again. And the way that I do this, like what way that I did it for myself before as well. I remember doing this when we were starting our business, and I hope that this really helps you. This concept I learned from, I think it was the future, right, Chris Do, and I was attending one of his like webinars before, and he showed us this concept, right, ikigai concept, and like how you can really find a service business model that will resonate with you, and you really have a higher chance of success. And so, like for example, if you the answer that I have was business strategist, and so like you want to answer that as truthfully as you can from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Do I love this? If you say that, well, that kind of feels like an 8 for me, and take your sweet time, by the way. This is the time that you really have to be honest with yourself, and to really take the time to answer as truthfully as you can, really digging down deep. And then you can answer, what does the world need it. This is all qualitative, by the way. Just go by gut feel and just finish that and give yourself the total score. So all of the answers that you have here. So like I can imagine it if I were going through this myself. And I've done this again with a lot of my coaching clients, and it's really helped them to start their own like road into starting their own business. But if I went through this, most likely, most probably, the business growth strategy and content strategy ideas are the ones that will have the highest score. And I say that because, well, again, going back, it did generate more than 500,000 a month for us in revenue. And so, like, the last thing that you want to do is, list down all the trainings and skills upgrades, because you want to, yes, create high income skills, but you also want to invest time, not just money, but time into learning the trainings, the skills, the coaching, the mentorship that you need to create, to turn your ikigai into something valuable enough for people to go and say, I trust you, I want to work with you, and I really want to build up, or to experience the desired outcome that you can give me with your ikigai. And so all of that, again, is available for download. I have this link in the description below. You'll get an access to this worksheet for free. So go ahead, go crazy with it. Hopefully this can help you to build the clarity that you need. But again, going back to this concept once again, and kind of wrapping it up, right, I suck at this Miro board stuff, so bear with me. I'll get better at this, or maybe go back to my keynote slides, I don't know. But again, when you talk about building a business that funds your financial freedom or financial independence, for this matter anyways, you need the right mental model. And the mental model that has really helped us was ikigai, because it does really bring you to the understanding of what drives you and what can add value to the world. It's so ironic that the Japanese don't even have the concept of retirement, right? And it's so funny because I talk about retirement in this YouTube video. But I think that if you find a source of active income that you don't want to retire from, it's just natural that you will eventually get to a level of financial independence where you can retire. Now, at that point, you can choose whether you continue in that career path which is probably what I'm gonna do. But at least at the same time, while I am continuing this career path, I do have the financial independence, knowing that my passive income can cover my burn even if I had to stop working. And so that's the concept that I really want to teach here, where you get to a point where you have a business or an income source. It doesn't have to be a business, by the way. You can apply the same model into finding a high paying employment, right? Or becoming an OFW, serving a mission that is much, much bigger than you just earning another currency. But the idea here essentially is you want to create a source of active income and then use that to feed passive income over time. And it just so happened that this is the path that we took. And so if you want to take that path as well, I hope that this has given you some ideas, some principles, some practices that can help you to achieve the same outcome as well. So hopefully you found this helpful. As always, subscribe if you did. If not, then it's completely fine. We'll probably hopefully see you around. And that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.